Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. This is your hostess Mehjabeen. Today I am going to explain the poem When You Are Old. This poem was composed by the Irish poet William Butler Yeats. The poet appears to be addressing his lady love Maud Gonne in this poem. Maud Gonne was an Irish poet and nationalist. She was also a woman of exceptional beauty. Although Yeats was deeply in love with her, Maud Gonne does not seem to have reciprocated his love. Yeats composed this poem in 1893 and it was a part of his second collection of poems titled The Rose. When you are old and grey and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read, and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. So the poet addresses his lady love, his beloved Maud Gonne, and says that when she has become an old woman and her hair is covered with grey and full of sleep, and in her old age when she is full of exhaustion and tiredness, and she is found nodding by the fire, at that time he makes an appeal to her to take down this book of poetry that he had dedicated in her name. Take down this book and slowly read, and then start reading this poem that he has composed, and slowly read and dream of the soft look, and at that time dream of the soft look or the tender gaze that she had been blessed with in her youth, and of their shadows deep. There were shadows underneath her eyes, and these shadows had made her look even more beautiful, and as a result she had had a lot of admirers and lovers around her. And this is what the poet is talking about. He's asking her to remember her past, to remember her bygone days when there were people who had been smitten by her beauty. But how many loved your moments of glad grace? At that time there were a lot of admirers around her, people who were crazy about her physical beauty and loved your beauty with love false or true, and there were men who loved her beauty with love false or true. Some of them had genuine love, but there were a vast majority whose love for her was not genuine. It was totally physical in nature. But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you. The poet is referring to himself. He's saying that remember that one man who genuinely loved your spirit, the pilgrim soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And he also loved the sadness that was expressed in her eyes from time to time, according to the shift in her moods, according to the shift in her thoughts. Maud Gonne was a very intelligent lady, and she was a patriotic woman, and she had strong feelings and strong sensibilities. And through this poem, the poet tries to give his opinion that his beloved had a pilgrim soul, a soul that was restless because of certain strong convictions, strong thoughts in her. And he admired her because of her spirit, because of the way she thought, and because of the way she acted. And his love for her was very different from that of the other people, other men around her. And bending down beside the glowing bars, and in her old days when she bent down or stooped to pick up a log of wood to pick up a log of wood to add to the fire, the fireplace, murmur a little sadly. He asks her to whisper a little sadly, remember her past and be sad about how she missed that kind of love in her old age, because in her old age she is a lonely woman. She does not have the poet beside her to express his love, because by that time he would be a dead man and his soul would become one with the stars in the sky. So murmur a little sadly how love fled, how love has disappeared from her life in her old age. Think about it. He's talking to her to think about it and remember and miss it, and pace upon the mountains overhead and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. That means love from her life in her old age has totally disappeared. It has gone from her life forever. That is something she is going to miss when she is old. Well, that's all for today. Look out for the summary of this poem. I'll be uploading it very soon.